Hey, how are you doing? Welcome to the Tiny Studio. It's your girl Nail, and this is Simply Nail's Tiny Studio. But today it is a what? It's a Dreadlock love video, baby. You know what time it is. How are you? I hope that you're having a fantastic day. I'm having a meh kind of day. I've been going through some family matters and family issues, and I feel a little under the weather. I think I have a respiratory infection. I'm not sure. My best friend said I probably have COVID. Who knows? I'm going to take that COVID test though, just in case. I hope I don't have the COVID, but we're not going to talk about anything negative today. What we're going to talk about is children and dreadlocking. Let's talk about that. If you are a dreadlock diva or a dreadlock gentleman, a locknista queen, a locknista king, and you already are, just into this lifestyle. You love it. You want everyone to join you on this path. Your significant other, maybe your mom and dad, your siblings, everybody. You want everybody to join you on this beautiful, beautiful journey, this path of being a dreadlock king or a dreadlock queen. If you have children, you also want to see them on this journey, right? Right, of course. So, how young is too young to start your children or to begin to lock your children's hair? We're going to tackle that question. We're also going to tackle the way society is going to look at children, how to prepare them for what this lifestyle and this dreadlock journey will mean for them. And well, let's just get into it, right? I'm rambling again. You have to excuse me. I'm going through, like I said, I'm going through some family matters. I lost my mom-in-law last week, last Saturday, and my family is basically in mourning. And we keep pushing through, moving forward in life, but it's still a hard thing to go through. It's still a hard thing to go through. So let's talk about it. Children and dreadlocks. I started locking my daughter's hair. I think she was maybe about two or 3 years of age when I began to lock her hair. But it wasn't a permanent dreadlock situation because my husband didn't want me to dreadlock her hair. Well, to allow her hair to totally lock. So I would do twisty locks on Connie. That's my baby girl. And I did twisty locks on her well, she wore twisty locks for maybe, I want to say, till she entered kindergarten. And then when she entered kindergarten, I acquiesced to my husband's wishes and I took her twisty locks down and gave her, the usual ponytails that little black girls wear, right? Right. But it was something that I wanted to do as far as with my daughter's hair. I wanted her to, look like her mother. And she did. She did. And I'm just a natural nista when it comes to hair. And I kind of raised my children, my daughters, in that way. With my oldest daughter, I wasn't into locking then when my oldest daughter was a little one, but I kept her hair in braids. And so that was what, she wore most of her childhood was cornrows. And I just enjoyed, my own fingers cornrowed my daughter's hair. And I just, that's how I was. I like to keep my girls or my daughters in natural hairstyles. And so when I began to lock my hair, it was in 2002. So I had my daughter in 2004. And so that was like, for me, a natural progression would have been to, lock my daughter's hair. Now, I understood my husband's um, his feelings on the subject of dreading our daughter's hair, and the issues that he had with um, dreading Connie's hair was the fact was the way the society would view her. He didn't want her to go through a lot of bullying in school because of her hair. He didn't want her to be looked at in a negative way by the people she came in contact with. And he wanted her to make the decision on her own to lock her hair. Now, even though I felt differently on the subject, I understood where he was coming from because I myself went through um, people looking at me funny because my hair is locked. I went through the awkward glances and the negative commentary that a lot of people in my religious community had because I, excuse me, had decided to lock my hair. So I felt that, with my support, that Connie would be able to overcome anything or any negativity that may have, came her way as a wee one, as a wee little girl, when she was wearing twisty locks. But I understood where my husband was coming from because if I was getting negative feedback and backlash, so was she. And I understood what he meant when he said, he wanted our daughter to be able to make the decision to lock her hair because it's a huge commitment to do so. So I understood where he was coming from, and I had to respect that because I know that dreading is a huge commitment, and I also know how little girls feel about hair and makeup and things like that. And Connie was just starting out. She was just, what, 5 years old. So we wanted her to make that decision. Now, when she became about 11, somewhere near, she started saying that she wanted to wear an afro. And the reason why she wanted to wear an afro was because, her brothers were wearing really cool afros, and her grandmother and great grandmother wore afros. And so she really liked that style. She loved afros. And so she kept asking me, saying to me, Mom, I want to wear an afro. Mom, I want to wear an afro. Mom, I want to wear an afro. And so, after a while, I began to realize that she was very serious about wearing her hair in an afro. And so I made it happen. She wore an afro, and she wore an afro for 3 years. She wore an afro for about, I'm going to say maybe about 2.5 years. She wore an afro for about 2.5 years, and then she decided that she was ready to lock her hair. And I thought, when we had that conversation, and then I let her father know that this is something that she wanted, and we hadn't had the conversation about locking hair. I never approached her with it. I never suggested it. I guess me setting the example for her, I guess it was something that was also a natural progression for her to decide that she wanted to begin to lock her hair. And so at 14, she, I put in her starter locks, And now at 18, she is still rocking her dress, and she looks absolutely beautiful and magnificent in them. So I see a lot of parents who lock their children's hair at a young age, and I don't agree or disagree with making that decision. I think that with anything, especially with dreadlocks, I think that you have to educate your children as to what it means to wear this to wear this. You have to educate them. You have to keep them informed. You have to show them and let them know, when you educate them, that there are going to be people who are going to say negative things to you, who are going to be rude to you about your hair, who are going to assume that you are lazy, that you're good for nothing, you're unintelligent, all of those things. You're going to have people making assumptions about you. And I think that's something that we as parents have to prepare our children for when we decide to lock their hair, or when they make the decision to make that commitment to lock their hair. We have to prepare them for what the world is like, because we know what it's like ourselves as parents with locks. We know what it's like to walk into this world and people see us and what they think, and the crazy glances that we get, the weird questions that we get, the comments that makes no sense, the judgment, the rudeness. We get it all. We understand that. But when our children begin to wear dress, we have to prepare them for it. We can't have them go out into the world and not be prepared for the backlash that they're going to get from westernized society about a style or a way of dressing our hair that celebrates our culture. So we have to educate them. We can't just send them out into the world with dreadlocks, not being able to defend our culture, not being able to feel the strength of our culture, not being able to reference the way we dress our hair with our culture and with history. We have to be able to help our children to understand the significance of wearing dreadlocks, and why it's so important, and why, when they take up this mantle of wearing dreadlocks, why it's so important. Because right now, dreadlocks has become a hairstyle. It's not necessarily a lifestyle. It's a hairstyle. And that's how a lot of people see it, especially people who are non-black. They see it as a hairstyle. So you have a situation where you have coaches and referees for you know children's sports leagues, or you know athletic leagues, and you have these people who feel like, well, in order to play, you need to cut your hair, or you're going to have to forfeit the game. You're going to either have to not play or forfeit the game because of your locks. We had a situation like that a few years ago with a young man whose referee said, look, your hair is too long. You got to cut that. This is not the way we look at it, and the way we view dreadlocks is that this is not just hair. This is our glory, a representation of who we are as princes, princesses, kings, queens, as people of color, having this existential experience here on this planet. So a simple quick fix is not cutting our hair. That's not the fix. Things need to revolve around us, and not we revolving around them. Do you understand what I'm saying? and where I'm going with this? So we have to educate our children. We have to let them know. And the way to do this really is the reverence that we feel and that we share and embody about our own dreadlocks. That's going to not only educate and help inspire our children, but it's going to give them a reference point to be able to defend and walk this walk of being a young dreadlock king, a young dreadlock princess, a young dreadlock prince, a young dreadlock queen. It's going to give them that reference point to be able to hold themselves up, hold their heads up high, and command respect where it comes to their locks. And all of this starts at home. So my feelings on children and dreads, I love it. I love it. But we have to be aware. We have to make sure that our children are aware of the negative perceptions that are out here about them when it comes to wearing locks. We have to prepare them if this is going to be part of their journey. We have to prepare them, we have to educate them, we have to inspire them, and we have to fortify them and give them the support that they will need as they move on and they start this journey of being a dreadlock diva or a Locknista dreadlock gentleman. It comes from home. It comes from what we're teaching them. So I really don't have any. If starting your child in dreads, and that's a personal decision. That's up to you, the parent. That's up to the parents concerned. It's up to them how they want to do this. But you have to also let the child know this is a commitment, and that's why we waited. That's why I saw the logic in my husband saying, "Let's wait, and if this is something that she wants to do, and that she's going to be committed to, then we lock her hair." So I can see the pros and the cons on both sides of that discussion of how soon is too soon to lock your child's hair. But I love those twin girls. What was their name? Chloe and her sister. They have had locks since they were wee little kids. Real small children. Their parents lock their hair, and their hair is beautiful. Simply beautiful now. And you can do it. You can do it. And why not? Why shouldn't our children look like miniature replicas of us? Divine, wearing their hair, walking high, wearing their hair like a crown. Why not? Why not? So thank you for hanging out with me in the tiny studio. This has been a Dreadlock Love video, baby. You know what time it is. I hope I was able to answer your questions on this subject and shed a little light on this subject as well. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in the tiny studio, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.